Hi, I'm Preston Williams, and welcome to another edition of Jazz Talk. Today we're in downtown Baltimore at the legendary Keystone Corner, and I'm sitting here with one of the greatest musicians in jazz music. This gentleman has been around for over 50 years and has worked with many greats from Dexter Gordon, Art Blakey, Horace Silver, Wayne Shorter, and Chick Corea, to name a few. He is a 5-time Grammy Award-winning bassist and composer. Please welcome to Jazz Talk the legendary Mr. Stanley Clarke. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. I wanted to talk to you about this band that you've assembled and put together. Now, help me to understand, is this a tribute band for your good friend, Mr. Chick Corea, pianist and composer who we lost a couple years ago?
Well, yeah, partly. I mean, when we got together initially, the music that we were getting together to do the music of the Romantic Warrior album. We rehearsed a bunch of songs, but then we also did other things too. So it's kind of a, tribute. Lately a lot of my friends have been passing away, so my touring has been one big tribute, but there's a bunch of tunes that we do that are Chick Corea compositions, and I usually make a point to say something about Chick, some little nuance about him that people don't know about, and people seem to really like that.
Yeah, some of the tunes over the last couple of days, because I was here to see all of your sets. No Mystery, which is a personal favorite of mine. Of course, you did School Days, some stuff with George Duke and the late Joe Henderson, which was fantastic. Something I wanted to ask you, Stanley, and I talked to your good friend Lenny about this. If I were to ask you, what does Return to Forever mean? When you guys created that, and I asked you, what is the definition of Return to Forever? What would you say it is?
Well, forever is when you just look at it as a term, and you look at the literal meaning of it. It's like no boundaries, because forever, there's no stop to it. It's not like forever doesn't mean you go down the street and stop. So there's a timeless sense to that. It's one of the beautiful things about creating what I call high art. You play. And it just goes on. Like, for instance, this life for me that I live in, probably starting from the age of 13 or 14 when I started really dabbling in music, and I had a sense of my own creativity, and that's went on forever. It has never stopped. So it's interesting when you look at that. Anyone that does anything that's creative, whether it's in music or literature, or whatever, if you can lock into the foreverness of what you're doing, you're on a good track. If you're someone that says, well, I'm not going to do it anymore, then you probably never meant to do it anyway. And it's more of a skill you have rather than a mission. Forever, when you attach that phrase to art, it implies some sort of mission, so that's like what I'm on this mission, and I will bop till I drop.
Hey, that's a great answer. Hey, something else I wanted to ask you. I've talked to countless musicians. Of course, we're just coming out of COVID, over the last year or so. Musicians weren't touring. They were home with their families, working on music. I wanted to ask you, what did Stanley Clarke do during COVID? What kept you focused, and how did it affect your music during that time period?
Well, it was an interesting time. Right before they announced COVID, I'd come back from Asia, and me and my wife, Sophia, and I think we caught COVID because I came home and I was in the bed for about 7 days. I didn't really tell anybody, but at that time I wasn't aware of COVID, so I didn't have all the stigma and all the what people were thinking. Ventilators wasn't in my head, So I just stayed in the bed and got better after 7 days. And my wife went to England, and gosh, I don't know how many people she affected, but anyway. but the thing is, she couldn't get back into the country in many ways. So I was home for like many, many months. And what I did was I slept a lot and actually felt much healthier. And I did movies. I did a movie, and I did a TV series for Hula called Woke, and something else. And I live on a property that has a lot of land, and I was working on it, flattening parts of it and breaking stuff with sledgehammers. I had a great time. And my daughter, Natasha, my son, Chris, and my nephew, Blake, they were really the only people that came over, and my cooking stepped up a little bit from eggs and salmon to couple other items. And I practiced a lot. And, it's funny, you learn a lot about yourself when you're alone. And that was really pretty much it.
Yeah. I wanted to congratulate you on the award that you won last year, National Endowment of the Arts, your NEA Jazz Master. What was it like winning that award with your peers, Cassandra Wilson, Billy Hart, and Donald Harrison?
It's always nice to get an award. Awards for me are just simply an acknowledgement of, it's kind of someone looking at some portion of your life and having good thoughts about it and feeling that they should give you some award through an acknowledgement. I mean, that's really all it is, I've been fortunate in this life to get a lot of awards. I have lots of awards and stuff, and they're nice. It's like somebody thinking nice thoughts about you, and they give you some symbolic physical object, and you put it up. It's nice. I think out of all the awards I've gotten, my favorite one is an award. Well, the NEA, the piece is really nice. The artist that did it is very nice. So I look at it as an art piece. That's beautiful. And then there's another one called the Miles Davis Award. That it's the highest award they give in Canada. And this thing is heavier than hell, man. It is it's a tall piece, and it's like a trumpet player, and it's made out of some heavy metal, like iron or something. It's like solid. And I told them I couldn't take it on the plane, so I had to send it. But it's a beautiful piece. Yeah, it's beautiful. I have it laying in there. I don't have any sort of display for all the awards like some of my friends. Al Di Meola has an amazing spread for all his awards. I don't know that I'll go that far, but
Last question. I wanted to ask you, will we see a documentary or a film on the life of Stanley Clarke in the future?
Yeah, it's actually, most of it, a lot of it's done. There was a woman some years ago and my son, they shot a lot of stuff, and it's kind of in the files back there, and it could come out. I don't know, these documentaries, I don't know my thoughts about them. Some of them I like and some of them I don't. Mine would be, usually the ones that seem to get the most noticed is if there's some kind of tragic thing that happens to you. You play great, you fall off the side of a mountain, train runs over you, something like that. Your arm falls off, my life is I live a pretty sweet life considering, my beginnings. And, so it's pretty good. I mean, like a documentary on me would be a lot of smiling in it, so,
Okay, great. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for being on Jazz Talk today. You're a class act. Love your music. Love you, man. I've been listening to you for maybe 40, 50 years myself. So you've heard it from the great Stanley Clarke. And as the saying goes, if the music grooves and makes you move, it must be jazz. I'm Preston Williams with Jazz Talk signing off. Peace.